Hello, gorgeous. I just want to give you a trigger warning that there are mentions in DV, so if you can't stand this, if you're in a sensitive place, click off now. I will see you in a future vlog. This is for the people who have been asking what happened in Kentucky. Before I tell you the entire story, just remember and keep in the back of your mind that I was freshly divorced from the longest and most significant relationship I ever had up until that point. I also moved across the country and had nobody, no friends or family to guide me. I was in a completely depressed and lonely headspace, especially considering I also just left what was supposed to be my forever home that we were building, and we were supposed to have a family and spend the rest of our lives together. I felt really like a huge hole was missing from my life where I was supposed to have everything and start fresh, but instead I ended up coming back to my home, Los Angeles, which is always what happens. I moved to a different country, I moved to different continents, and I always end up back here in LA. Here's the story. If you don't care about what actually happened and it's just for entertainment, you're more than welcome to stay too.
Didn't your ex-husband get it?
I'm here for my car keys. What did you do to this place? Cashmere. Here, I'm gonna lock him in the room. Cashmere.
Okay, so her ex-husband didn't do anything?
Where are my car keys?
Yeah, I'm looking for them.
I'll put him in the room. I'm just gonna put him in the room. Oh my god. What's wrong with you? Cashmere, go in your room. I miss you. I'll see you soon. Where are my car keys, please?
Right here.
What are you watching? You're so weird. You're so weird. Oh my god. Why are there all these scratches and like marks? Did you smear the walls? Why is this destroyed? Why is all my stuff destroyed? Why are my shelves destroyed?
They're not destroyed, okay? I was gonna talk about all this stuff. This is not.
All right, so look, like I said, we're here for the keys, okay?
Sorry, where are my
We're
car
not trying to
keys?
escalate
I'm trying to.
anything else.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to find it. That's how your ex-husband dealt with all this stuff. The female cop told me he was gonna get it rekeyed or something.
What is this? Oh my gosh. Where?
We can't do this all night, okay?
Sorry.
So,
What did you do?
did not
Everything
do
you
it.
touch turns to. What you just saw was me entering my place with the police. Everyone in my family, all my friends, feared for my safety, and they said you cannot go into your place alone. His psychotherapist said next time you see him, when you get your stuff out of there, make sure you are always with two large men. Make sure it's the sheriff, make sure it's the police. You are not going to be alone in the room with him. I called first thing the police, and I just wanted to get my keys. That way I could put my luggage in there because I did not trust him with my stuff. And I thought my apartment was going to be the way I left it 3 months ago. All my new furniture that I just bought, I'm going to get into that later. But I thought it was going to be the way I left it, essentially. I go there with the police, and the police are super kind and understanding. And there was actually one police officer, Officer Rains, thank you very much. And the other officer, Officer Serrano, thank you so much. Once again, thank you for your service also. Officer Rains, the one who happened to help me before at an earlier altercation, because there were 14 separate reports where I called the police. That's the reason why he took the call, because he was familiar with the situation. He actually stepped in. They were both super kind. As you can see, they were de-escalating, and I was the one who was shocked
shocked left and right. I couldn't breathe. I was trying not to have an attack. I was so shocked. There were holes in the wall, holes in the ceilings. If you go back slowly, if you look it over the video, I only captured what I can, and I captured first walking in too. So this wasn't like I knew I scoped the place out first and then started filming. I walked in filming because I did not know what to expect. And I showed it to my friends and family. They were asking so many questions. I had to explain to them that it was my first time. When I walked in recording, I walked in recording first, not I scoped out the situation and started recording. As I said, what was happening was I was asking for my keys, and my ex-husband Andrew, since we were married, it was technically the car was under his name. I couldn't bring the car back to California because we were only insured in Kentucky. So long story short, what happened, from my understanding, I put 2 and 2 together. He had the car towed and he sold it, or is in the process of selling it. But it was weird because John, this crazy guy here, was saying, your ex-husband took it, but let me find the keys anyway. That is like when women who take the lives of their children, if you've seen this, parents who take the lives of their children, I've seen this in true crime documentaries. They will take the lives of their children and go to the police and act like they don't know where it is, and they'll search it. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. So he was searching for the keys when he knew that they were already taken, and he told us they were taken. So I was really confused. I'm like, which is it? Anyway, I'm getting riled up. What ended up happening was I went straight to the clerk, as I was going to do anyway, and then filed a protective order, multiple ones. Well, it was one with multiple things. So a no contact order. He cannot contact me. His friends cannot contact me, or else he'll go to jail. If I see him in the distance of a stadium, so 500 feet, he has to walk away and I have to walk away. Or if he tries to approach me, I have to call the police on the spot and they will arrest him. Since this protective order is up again, I contacted the prosecutor of his original case, and he was actually in jail for breaking his DV order because I had one before. But now that one is back up, I have multiple orders in one, multiple requests. So one is no contact, then there's to vacate, so he has to get kicked out of my place, and also DV. He cannot touch me, he cannot scream at me, he cannot look at me funny, and he cannot curse at me. Literally, that's what the judge said. That's what the police said. There were multiple occasions where I had to call because I just had a DV order on him before because he kept breaking my things that were not replaceable. He would say, oh, I only broke this thing. And the judge was like, what? Why are you touching your stuff at all? It's not yours. Why are you breaking anything? Anyway, so logic out the window. Just completely defenestrated any sense of reality. That's what was happening here. As you can see in the video, there were holes in the ceiling, holes in the walls, pieces of paper with Korean writing on it, because he thinks he's a genius because he speaks Korean. Later, I pulled the papers off. There were papers in every single room, holes in every single room, but there were papers, multiple of them, like 7 taped to the wall. And I was wondering, what are these papers taped to the wall? And as I pulled them off, because I was just cleaning up the place, I saw that there were holes behind the pieces of paper. And I thought, I'm the one who has to pay for this because my name is on the lease. Never put your name on the lease with someone you don't trust. I'm literally sitting in a police car. This is the computer. I'm at the county clerk and I just filled out everything. I have my luggage here and my bag. This is crazy. I put the heat on 77. Close the window. Oh my gosh, this feels like weird. Welcome to my luxurious 2-star hotel home for the night. So I'm really happy because this is in a better state than my apartment was. I feel like I'm living in a palace in this place after I saw what my apartment turned into. This is seriously nicer than, where's the light? Than the hotels I stay in, because look at all the beautiful work they do. It's the little things. It's the little things. It's people putting their hands all over your towels and your napkins before you use them. So a man was here, or they just cleaned it and left it up. They didn't put it back down. Got a floor towel and then a body towel. Beautiful, beautiful handiwork. Seriously, this is next level. I am thoroughly impressed. When I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna shower. Right now, I'm dead. I even have a TV. Does this place have Wi-Fi? Apparently this has room service. So that's pretty cool. Does it have Wi-Fi? Not that yeah, it's free Wi-Fi. Yes! Score! This is awesome. It actually has a microwave, coffee maker, coffee, storage,
fridge, freezer. This is everything I need and more. This is luxury. This is more than what I have that's working in my actual apartment right now, which is so sad. I'm in the dopest hotel room. This is the time when all the single ladies, genuinely didn't mean to say single ladies, but it just worked out that way, should listen to Beyonce and celebrate being free, legally single. And tomorrow, hopefully the papers go through. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna figure something out. I love you so much. Did you eat? I'll let you do your thing. You have food? You have water though. No, you don't have water. Let's get you some fresh water. Hello, gorgeous. I know it looks a little crooked. It's because this tripod was destroyed partly. Hope that's okay. I just did some walking around and it looks like in a movie where a psychopath is found in their house or like a drug den. I don't know, I still feel like I can fix this. I feel good. I'm gonna Facebook Marketplace all my furniture, possibly even my YouTube sofa. I was originally gonna do pods, but there's nothing to take home here except for my clothes. And I think I'm just gonna rent a car, drive me and Kashmir to Los Angeles. Andrew was the owner of the car, and so he took it back before I even came, and I didn't know because I had to block everyone for my mental health, for my family's sake, because I was getting nonstop calls and texts from people in a different time zone I was legally not allowed to talk with or morally not allowed to talk with. I come back, this place is destroyed. I just have one more month of rent. There's no one who lives here, so the bills are covered, utilities, but I do have to clean up. It's gonna be a lot of cleanup. It's literally just me throwing everything away and selling what is salvageable for like $50 to $25 because everything is smashed. There are weird scratches on the wall. It looks like excrement was smeared on the wall and everything is literally destroyed. All the new furniture I bought was literally destroyed. There are deep cuts into the floors and scratches. There are holes in the ceiling, holes in the wall. And today I'm gonna go get a divorce, which is the easy part. But the hard part is locating the loser, because he has gone through 8 jobs last I talked with him. Can't keep a job. Will be at a place for two days and then they'll fire him. Anyway, I don't know where my TV is. I'm guessing it was smashed. My soundbar is gone. I spent like $1,000 on that and they were so new. I remember I have so many regrets. I should have just kicked them out right away. Everyone is saying, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you? I'm like, it's the past now. I'm here, but I feel free. Even though this place is crazy, I feel this huge sense of freedom, this immense sense of relief. I remember the time where I talked with the police. This time he went to jail because he attacked me and there was glass all over, shattered all over the floor. The police walked in and they were crunching their boots on the floor. When they arrested him, took him to jail, the first thing I said was, I'm free. And I cried. And the police, like, they were super upbeat. And they're like, we're gonna get you out of this. We're gonna help you. This is gonna be easy because we already caught him. You have the DBO. You're legally okay. You're taken care of. And then when I said that, all of a sudden, their faces changed. And you could see all of their energy just shift. Like, they felt so bad. Like they freed a prisoner. That's what it felt like. I don't mean to get upset over that, but I remember the faces of everyone. Thank you to Officer Sizemore. Thank you to Officer Rains. Thank you to Officer Serrano and all the sergeants here at Lexington PD. Lexington has the kindest police. They have the kindest judges. They have the fairest people. All the clerks are so knowledgeable and help me make it easy. And I'm ready to throw it all away, start over, start fresh. And I don't think I'm gonna get my deposit back. I'm gonna clean it up as best I can, sell everything as fast as I can for very cheap, and just move on with my life. Hello, gorgeous. Welcome back to Los Angeles. I have some bullet points here. My thoughts will be scattered. There's a lot and I didn't know how to put it into words. I have been receiving emails from a lot of people asking about what's going on. People commenting on my blog, and some people ask inappropriate questions. I guess there's a disconnect with my blog and my YouTube channel. Usually I'd write a blog post. It would include multiple vlogs. I haven't been posting much about my personal life, and when I do, I have not been talking in the vlogs. I have not been explaining myself very well because I was always being watched. There are multiple moving parts. If you've been following me, you know that I am from Southern California and I moved to Kentucky to buy a farm, to buy a house, to live a completely different lifestyle. Then I got divorced, so that changed everything, and I ended up having to move into the city. I realized this is not life, and then I moved back to Hollywood Hills here. As you can see, I'm fine. Like, if you look around, there are some negative things to this, and I like my YouTube channel to be a very peaceful, relaxing, low-key place, and I originally created vlogs to keep updated with my family abroad and friends all over the world. Along that process, I started sharing my heart with style and clothes. This is my whole world. A lot of my personal life onto the YouTube channel, where strangers who are wonderful and kind. I've known no kindness that these people have shared with me that I don't know. The reason I'm back is because there are more job opportunities here. Not only that, I actually started a business back in Lexington, Kentucky was the city where I lived, and I still have my place there. If I've never clarified, I have 3 businesses right now. It's a lot. I got a 9-to-5 in Kentucky because I wanted to support all the big things we wanted to do. Like, we were building a house from scratch on our land. We had a few acres of land that we wanted to do a lot of things with, and then we are now in the process of selling the farm, the land, the forest, the farmhouse, everything. And that was going to be part of our retirement plan. Once we got divorced, we're still essentially watching out for each other, making sure that we're both successful and that we have everything we need. When you are friends with someone for so long, that doesn't ever go away, especially when it's such an amicable divorce. If you've been following me, you know him as Mr. Dixon. He is doing well, and he is actually still in Kentucky. What happened was I got fired from my job along with, as far as I know, 5 other people. My coworker, who ended up becoming my friend, got fired. I got fired, and then this person told me these people are next, and then it turned out it was way worse than we thought. Some top producing people were fired. I was not surprised personally because I've been prepared. I had 3 businesses going on, especially in my divorce. It catapulted me to put all this energy of loneliness and wanting to be successful and not having an option to not be successful. That's always been inside me. I've always been ambitious. Now I have to take classes at night. I have to look at all the free education I can get online, and then I have to look at things that are paid education, things I can do that I can afford right now. At the same time, I was working on different time zones at night, so I would come to work looking very tired. I would still do my hair and makeup and put on an outfit, but I still felt this is not it for me. This 9-to-5 is not it. I'm trying to put into place all the moving parts in order as well as I can, but that's not how the human brain works. The second week of work, I found something out that was really, really not good. It was regarding my boss. I'm not here to trash anybody. I'm not here to trash any businesses. In my personal opinion, there were some things I shouldn't have seen and I witnessed on multiple occasions. I started creating records. I had the coolest job in the world for an aviation company. We'd be on different aircraft every single day, and I get to film all of it. I get to see it up close firsthand, be in the right seat, but the cost of me losing a lot of respect for my bosses
business. I just kept it to myself. I realized that the entire office knew. Only everyone would talk about it. This was part of the reason why I didn't like living in Lexington, living in Kentucky. Everyone knew everything right away, which is a good thing when you're watching out for each other. So it was a good thing when I was living on the farm. All the farmers knew each other, neighbors knew each other, and if you need help with something, they can help you. It was a very lively exchange of really wonderful people. There was like the downside of it, and I was witnessing it slowly over time. This is what I learned. The day that I was fired, I knew I was getting fired. I knew I was gonna leave a few months in advance. So I was preparing myself, especially when I got divorced, because I thought I don't want to stay in my situation forever. There was a point where my boss essentially said, you can't move up. We want you here. I was doing a lot of work. They gave me even more work outside of my position that I had no idea about. But I thought, hey, that's good because I can have more experience knowing these things. I got experience, which is good, real time. They weren't very organized in my opinion. It was an extremely unprofessional place. And there were a lot of dynamics I didn't agree with. There was a thick layer of facade. I'm not gonna go into too much detail because this affects a lot of people. And there's one video just about like a heartbreak. It's just my journal. It's a visual journal. It's a vlog. That's how little negativity is on this channel. This is not to be negative. This is just sharing what I learned. I really like my job because I got to meet people all across the world. I created a news show. It was an aviation news show. It was really cool because I would get 20 messages a day on LinkedIn from people all over the world talking about my show. You're always welcome to come to this country because of the knowledge that you have, your journalism style, and we just like you, essentially. I made friends through that way. I text people till today because of that from all over the USA, people in Cuba, people in the Nordics, private jet companies all over the world. I was so busy to the point that I lost my will to dress up. That's how bad it was. I really love dressing up. I lost inspiration, felt like I was in a black hole of nothingness. The day I got fired, when I walked in, they weren't treating me very nicely. I was being very professional and kind as always. If you know me personally, you know I don't show my feelings right away, especially if I'm in a professional place. We're not friends. I didn't see my bosses, in my opinion, to have any dignity left in my eyes, especially after that second week. On that day, I feel like they had like this self-defense mechanism to be really rude to me. They raised their voice at me multiple times. I was like, just because you keep repeating something doesn't mean it's gonna appear out of thin air. This never happened. I have no reason to lie. And they accused me of doing something. And I said, that's not true. It was such an inanely small, and it was extremely professional that way, where I communicated, this is a problem, we need to fix it. That's how I am at home too. It's the adult thing to do. Set your feelings aside and do the right thing. That's exactly who I am. Everyone personally knows me that way. There's no excuses when it comes to me, socially, professionally. They were being really short with me and I was really surprised. In my head, I was thinking, if you're gonna talk to me like a child, I will treat you like a child. I was ready to get up and just walk away. That's how rude they were. But I thought, you know what? Be the better person. I didn't hide anything. I can't go into too much detail. I can go into detail, but I don't want to because it hurts people. I told my boss, for the next person you hire, this is something that needs to be fixed. I could see on her face that she was very defensive. The whole time I was being professional. I made things easy. I was friendly, kind in general. I'm always smiley. I'm very accepting. I confronted her very professionally, very clean cut, this is a problem. She said, how can you prove it? Thing was, the second week of my work, when I started working there, for those of you who don't know, I have a background in computers, had proof of everything, and I made sure to save it across 4 multiple drives because it was my job to have a lot of space and storage to back up everything anyway, part of my job. Well, almost every other day, I would say, I backed up every single little detail. I logged spreadsheets and I have them saved, and I even bought extra Google Workspace and Google Storage on Google Play to make sure that I was on top of everything, because that's how I am in my business. If I'm working in someone else's business, they would like this level of organization also. One of the places where I worked before was freelancing across multiple internet companies. A lot of things are legally public record, especially if it's Google. I didn't want to point fingers when my boss asked me, how do you know it's that person? How do you know this is true? In my head, I could immediately tell how I have the proof, but I didn't want to fully give myself away, and I didn't want to put anybody else directly in trouble. I also didn't want to dig deep and tell her too much because I don't know how much she knows about what the other boss, her husband, was doing, and he was doing extremely inappropriate things. It has nothing to do with the business except for he brought it into the business and the business space, in my opinion,
It affected me. I had to see it almost every day. People would walk into my office seeing certain things. In my opinion, it was highly inappropriate for work. He was a convicted felon. Very first week when I started working there, I had loved ones asking me, why are you working for this person? You don't want to be associated with a person like this. You don't know if you'll get taken down and your name is tarnished. A lot of people don't take pride in their name and their family name, but I do. That was a good point. The reason I'm not going to say what this person did was, one, it doesn't really matter because I know. Two, they have a child that's under 18 years old. They already have to live with this fact. It's one thing to have a felony, but when I read about what the felony was, it was so, in my opinion, it was very nasty. I feel like innocent people were hurt. One of the newer coworkers found out, how come no one told me? We were telling him, the whole office knew, and he's like, why didn't anyone tell me when I first started working here? I wouldn't have worked here. I would have started looking for jobs at other places. This coworker was also, didn't want to be attached to it, but he just wanted to get a paycheck and then leave. Once the moment he leaves, he's out of there forever, never seeing this place again. That's the kind of vibe I had at the office. Or it would be people who turned the other cheek. I didn't know what was worse. I thought every day I looked at my boss's faces since the second week of work, I felt sick and I just had to put on a smile. People who smile aren't happy, they're strong. I looked at their lives and I thought, they are not where I want to be. There are a lot of things that I could pick about their lives that are not good. So the second week of work, why do I mention that I worked with computers, was because I knew how Google worked. There are a lot of things that are public. It shows the exact metadata, the IP address, the date, the time, geocache, all the geotagging location, everything, every date and time. And it was always when the wife left. In my opinion, this is sus. Several coworkers downstairs who would text me, the wife left, do you see anything changing on the metadata? And I said, yep. The moment her engine goes on, he started doing inappropriate things. This is where it got weird. When I was getting fired, I told my boss, and it was crazy getting fired because I had family members who told me, why didn't you stay? You could have just dropped off your work computer and then left and said, I'm not getting paid for this time, bye. I should have done that, and I was just being respectful because that's just my personality. They didn't even do it politely too. Anyway, it was a mess. They were treating me like pushing me around, and when they asked for something, I gave it to them. No questions asked. I said, of course, here, let me just go get, I have something upstairs, let me just make sure I have everything. They would escort me as if I would do something bad, which is okay. I have nothing to hide. I have an extra pair of my house keys and I wanted to make sure I had those. And then I had a beautiful silk coat. So I made sure I got those things. I already had cleaned my office a few months ago when I knew in the back of my mind that in my mind, I mentally left months ago. But I still showed up and did proper work. I knew I was leaving is what it was. And I had a coworker catch me on my lunch break watching how to quit your 9-to-5 videos, and he laughed. You too? Me too. There were a lot of us who made a silent pact, looked at each other, and we're not staying here forever. We don't want to be associated with this place anymore.
Hello, gorgeous. If you've been following me for a while, you know that my life has drastically changed. Just looking around, I am not the Gia you once knew when I was starting out on this channel, or 6 months ago, a year ago on this channel. My life changes by the hour, literally to the point that one weekend ruined my life for the past year, over a year now. Today, I am officially single, legally on paper. I am divorced for the second time. A lot of my friends and family say this marriage did not count. I could never really talk about this situation because my lawyer advised me, and my friends and family too, they said, stop talking about this. It's none of people's business. Just be private. You've already posted a lot. A lot of the characters that you see in my vlogs, a lot of these different people that you see have changed. Also, it's not necessarily that they're new. Some are new, but some are coming back before it was when I was married. These are people that I knew on my own, that were my friends before I moved across the country. Now I'm back in Los Angeles, essentially starting, not necessarily from scratch, but I'm starting over, and it feels great. I have really good people in my corner. I have a strong community. Now I am really giving myself some roots. Anyway, so here is the Kentucky story. Now that I am legally mostly scot-free, I still have to wait 30 days to see if there is a default or if someone is going to dispute the divorce. In 30 days, I had to fly back and testify. I asked the lawyers, the defenders, the prosecutors, and I had a lot of emails back and forth, calls, and they called me last minute. I said I have to work because I'm paying for this divorce and all the damages this person caused. Literally thousands of dollars of damage. Over $100,000 of my property was destroyed directly by him. He complained that his rice cooker, he couldn't carry it out. First of all, You had to vacate. The sheriff gave you time to pick up all the things you needed, and you didn't get your rice cooker, where you destroyed over $100,000 worth of my things, but you're complaining about your stupid rice cooker. That's your fault because you didn't take it out when you had the time to do it. He kept complaining to the judge, and the judge was like, this is a civil court, this is not family court, so shut up. She's trying to get rid of you. It was weird because he was trying to find reasons to stay married. Everybody in the court, it was a bunch of women in the court too. They looked at him up and down, and there was one gentleman in the security. Everybody looked so disgusted by him. They were saying, like, they were essentially saying on their face, stop talking, close your mouth, sign the papers. She's trying to get rid of you. Make it as smooth as possible because you're making everybody's problem and you're wasting everyone's time. Get out of her life. I had this protective order. I had a few protective orders, a criminal case against him, not just civil. These were all things that came into play. And now I can finally talk about it. Now I am not 100% legally okay to talk about it because we don't know. We still have to touch wood, make sure that everything is smooth. I have to wait for 6 months. California, the divorce law is 6 months. You have to get everything filed, and I still have to file a final judgment once this 30 days pass. If I do default, if he disputes it, I don't know. We'll see what happens. My fingers are crossed. I will be free. I will be single, and I will get this burden off my back, this leech. I know you guys never hear me talk about airing my dirty laundry. I did years ago one time. My entire family, they clapped back and they said, take that down right now, which I did out of respect to them. I felt like it was my life. It was my story. It really didn't have much to do with them, but they took offense to it. And I thought, you know what? These are people who have given me so much, so I'm gonna, out of respect, take it down. I also just don't like to have any problems in my personal life. So I'm not Risa Tisa, but a lot of you have been asking what happened in Kentucky. Here's everything that happened. I will try to keep it concise because it's a long story, and I have tried to film this so many times where I've sat down for 2 hours talking to the camera, and then I end up scrapping the whole thing because I would be so emotional. Enough time has passed that I'm calm enough to talk about it. I'm actually in a very good place because I have a very good balanced life. I have a good situation. I have a good job. I have a wonderful partner. But even today, I am still wary about getting to know someone properly. I'm still worried about, is this a little episode? Is this a little argument? Or is this something worth breaking up over? Because little details might be indicative of a larger problem I'm not aware of. I have never met someone in my entire life who is genuinely diagnosed with multiple problems across the board. I talked to multiple clinical psychologists, different types of psychologists. I've talked to different professionals, to different lawyers. They all said the same thing. This person had textbook paranoid schizophrenia. Early onset, this is the time that it shows up in someone's genetic disposition. This person also was on the spectrum. There are different levels of autism. There are so many different types, and this video is not about that, but this really had a lot to do with it, but also the other diagnosis of the paranoid schizophrenia. And there were just multiple things. I've never met someone with this level of problems that was not treated. This person genuinely belongs in hospital or a situation where they have a full-time caretaker.
I truly, genuinely mean this because this person didn't know how to do their own hair and take care of themselves and wash properly, and their teeth was loaded with dirt, and I didn't notice that. I think it was just caught up in a bunch of things that were going on. They would never really show their teeth. They would change the whole energy of the room. I've had people who told me this person has a darkness around them. This person doesn't talk like that. They're not a spiritual person at all. Bad energy is in the room and everyone could feel it, and everyone was so uncomfortable. He made everyone so uncomfortable. These were people who have nothing to fear, are healthy, normal, strong people who said there are 1,000 things wrong. You might not see it, but I'm gonna shake you to make sure that you see it. I got out of the situation enough to be in a safe level where I found out that in cults, this is actually how they work. They rhymes with adduce the person by making them feel constantly in fear so that anything that happens, they're on full adrenaline and they're not thinking properly. A lot of cults use this to use people, to wear them down, and to get them to do whatever they want. It's not until after they leave the situation, obviously, because it's like you're in a maze when you are in the situation and everyone else is looking down at the maze saying, go left, the monster's coming in from the right, but you can't hear them because you're in it. You go right anyway. It's really important to understand that you are in a labyrinth. Everyone knows that I have a brain. I can think for myself. I'm not a stupid person, but that's the situation that I was in. I talked with multiple clinical psychologists and they all said, run away, get out. If you're ever in the same room with that person, make sure there are police with you, make sure there are two large men with you, make sure you are not alone in the room with this person. This is disgusting. This should never happen. And it happened. So life happens. And I'm here to tell you, don't make these mistakes because I made them. Something that really disgusted me was he would use people. I would ask, why did you stop talking with this person? He literally said, I have no more use for them. And I thought, what? Who is this monster? I've never heard a person blatantly talk like that about another human being, which was kindness. I'm here to tell you, get to know someone. When you're dating someone, put your feelings aside, put your logical hat on. There are very important things in life. For example, very basic things that should be taken care of, especially as a grown man, as a grown woman. I have realized that I'm very mature in the sense I am actually pretty financially stable. I am very responsible, mature emotionally. I have a lot of things in my life together that I used to think that I was an absolute mess. When you meet someone, you think something is off, but you can't put your finger on it, and it's because a bunch of things are off. It means their priorities do not align with a functioning adult. There were also these really weird red flag moments where he would do anything that I said or I wanted, and he would try to shape himself into what he thought I wanted. Anytime I asked him, do you like this? He would ask me, what do you think? Every single time he'd ask me first what I thought so that he could say something to fit into what I wanted. And that was one of my biggest icks. That was one of my biggest turnoffs, is a person with no convictions, a person with none of their own opinions. I hate when a person has no backbone. I do not respect someone who just goes along with whatever. Nobody does. Absolutely nobody wants a man, especially, to lead from the back. That doesn't make any sense. Also, another way this manifested was I'm Jewish, and I kept going to a bunch of different Jewish holidays, different Jewish events. He would talk himself up. It was weird. Anyway, I don't want to remember all the details, but long story short, he said he would convert to Judaism for me, which is a huge red flag. Because first off, I'm not even going to get into the Jewish aspect of this, but every single person I know who's a grown man has their own beliefs and will even argue with me about beliefs about Judaism, whether they're Christian, whether they're agnostic, whether they're atheist. And my boyfriend right now is Muslim, and I love him so much because he's such a good Muslim, just a genuinely good person. But when he talks about God, you know his heart is there. He tells me I will never move from what I believe in, and I really love him more because of that. I respect him more. It makes me admire him. It actually opens my eyes up to a lot of good parts about Islam. So when someone says, I will flip all of my morals and all my values and my structure of belief, that's a huge red flag. So just as a warning. Here's the Kentucky story. Essentially, when I divorced Mr. Dixon, I don't ever really plan on talking about exes. I don't feel like it's appropriate, but also he's wonderful. He's happy. He has a new life. I'm happy for him. Technically speaking, we would be friends. We split up amicably, that we remained friends. We leaned on each other. We told each other everything that's going on because we were each other's best friend. The problem that we have in society today is that we make our partner be absolutely everything. We shouldn't, obviously, I cannot tell what works for you, but I notice that when I have a partner, I shouldn't rely on them for absolutely everything because that's when it becomes problematic. I need to first off be a functioning adult myself. I need to understand how my car works or how my finances should work, how my savings automatically should work. We talk about it, we convene, have meetings together about these things, but we shouldn't necessarily, you rely on this and you rely on this 100%. We should have our fingers in each pot a little bit at a time or rotate some way like this. My ex-husband used to be the one who handled this and I handled this. That's good that you have that. But when I'm alone and I realize I don't have that situation anymore, I feel emptiness, also dysfunctionality because I can't do it on my own. For example, he was really good at investment properties. I have no idea what I'm doing and I have to ask like 3 friends just to get the basic knowledge, and I feel so behind there. Mr. Dixon and I were amicable. He would still come over and help me with certain things around the house. We were split up at that time. He worked close to my apartment at the time. It was in Kentucky, Lexington. What happened was I felt very alone. His partner would be upset when he would talk to me because obviously we were married. We should just cut ties even if we're friendly. I always thought
Like, I would at his wedding, not necessarily there at his wedding, because that's kind of weird, but I would send him a huge gift as long as it's appropriate with the permission of his wife. We were always friends that way, but then his wife said, "Stop talking to her, please." So I understood that and I backed off. There were some things like cashmere that he handed cashmere over to me, back to my possession, because he had a baby on the way. When I moved to California, my partner wanted me to stop talking to my ex, which I'm glad to do. And the problem was I was paying for a car through Mr. Dixon. Eventually, I got rid of the car, but you'll see that in this story. When I was dating after Mr. Dixon, I was seeing some really eligible suitors. There were some wonderful gentlemen out there. They were people that I was genuinely considering seeing myself with. I am the type of person to be matched up, and I'm serial monogamizer. Was already planning my next steps in life, that I want to buckle down, I want to be serious, I want to get engaged and married, eventually have children, in that order. I said, this time I want to do things right, date someone for a good period of time, because Mr. Dixon and I were married 6 weeks after meeting each other. So I believed all the romances I've ever had that were long term were, we met and we knew instantly. I had every single guy that I've dated that was serious, there were only 2, asked me to move in, or they asked me to marry them within the first 2 weeks of knowing them. I married Mr. Dixon at 23. We started a life together, went full blast. That's how I am. So I thought, you know what, the next partner I'm going to have is going to be in a similar situation. I was not thinking properly because I was also very lonely from the divorce. It was very difficult to date because everyone around me had a proper education, they had a proper job. This person is a pilot, a lawyer, a dentist, a surgeon for cardiology. Everyone was serious, but everyone was 2 or 3 hours away. Mr. Dixon always said something. I'm very high maintenance in the sense that I need someone who's retired who could give me their full attention, because there are so many things that I want to do all the time. To fulfill all of those things takes a lot of energy. I don't put people on a pedestal anymore. I see things pragmatically for how they are, and I just appreciate the moment, and I'm living in the now instead of planning 5 steps ahead, always having my chess pieces set up for the next few moves. When I started dating, I already had my ducks in a row. I thought I have everything. I have a really nice, big, fabulous apartment. I have a decent job, retirement, my savings. I want to settle in this part of town. I had my whole life ahead of me, and I thought, okay, I'm done traveling. I'm done exploring. I'm done shopping with wild things. Now I just get everything bespoke, and I have everything in my home upholstered and tailored by my design. And I thought, I'm going to be this next level homemaker, not necessarily a housewife, but I just had all these ideas in my head of what I thought my life should look like, and then that's not how it panned out. I was asking my friends everywhere to meet someone in person. I would go to the synagogue, everyone was married or everyone was on their way to university. Everyone's either 20 or 168 in my synagogue because it was so small. I had my friends connect me with other people, but they were just not it. People are either already married in their early 20s in this part of the United States, in Kentucky, or they've been married for a long time. The only people who were available that were single and nearby were 2 hours, 3 hours away in a bigger city. Lexington is a really small town. It's 300,000 people, which is like a parking lot here in Los Angeles. That's teeny tiny. Not even a quarter of downtown. I ended up going on dating apps and just exploring who is out there. My girlfriend said, Gia, do you know who you are? And all the girls around me in that part of town were saying, you could do very, very well here. You can have anyone. I thought, I just want the right one. I don't care about having anyone. They pushed me to go onto Hinge, and they said, have a dinner with a new person every night. Make sure that you have work the next day. You can't be out past 8. They had all these interesting rules. I feel like really set the tone for high standards. Don't show any skin on the first date. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. I start talking to a few people, and then I go on dates with a couple people. I'm not very interested. Even the people who were on paper the most eligible, not interested. Then something interesting happened. The first day that I downloaded Bumble, because I was tired of Hinge and I felt like I was bumping into a lot of the same guys and I was just not attracted to them. I go on a date with this guy, which is probably the first problem I had. It was just that I was willing to let someone pick me up, invite them into my home. I trusted people way too much, which is a huge problem. I have my guard up. I'm very, very different now. This is not who I am anymore. So anyway, red flag number 1 for me, because I was in a bad situation. I wanted to have a partner. I wanted to have this checklist filled out in my head. I let this person come to my house. They came to my house, and I thought, first impression, when I look back on it now, holes in your shirt, holes in your shoes, wearing a t-shirt on a first date, shaved properly, not a good haircut. When I look back at these things now, your first impression, you don't get a second chance to make it. What you're communicating to me is you did not put any effort into this date. My jacket that I had was on sale and still probably cost more than his entire outfit. This was just my casual whatever jacket, my going out because it's cold, let me just grab the mail real quick. This person didn't put any effort, and I should have put two and two together. In this part of America, in Kentucky, people are either super, super casual or they're super dressed up and they're just like me and have high standards as well. I let it slide, I think, because I was very vulnerable. This person showed up, they had flowers and they were like $12 flowers. And as my girlfriend said, I sneezed $12. I probably sneeze more than that.
She told me that her boyfriend rarely bought her flowers, but when he does, he buys her an incredible bouquet and he put a lot of effort into it. And I know what she's talking about because Mr. Dixon would do this for me. When he would buy me flowers that are not as expensive, he would buy me a bunch of them. When he did buy me a bouquet, he would buy me the really premium, incredible one that would just blow me away, and I would be smelling it all throughout the week and taking constant pictures of it and just admiring it for hours in the house. So I know what she's talking about when she said, I sneezed $12. These aren't flowers. She threw them on the floor. I felt that and I laughed. And I remembered my worth again for a few seconds.
All my girlfriends kind of had to wake me up and say, Shia, do you know who you are? I don't want to go into every single detail of all the red flags, but I will tell you some crazy things that happened. I don't even know where to begin. We went on the date. And it was awkward because they didn't know anything to do. They just came to pick me up. We went out to a bunch of things and I suggested a bunch of things and I was already getting bored. I was trying to find something nice to say. I was not impressed. I find myself kind of leading the date and we hopped to 3 different places and I thought, I'm already trying to find things to say and they're just, I don't know. I kind of just went along with everything and I even paid on the date. I invited them out to eat to this place anyway, so I thought, you know, I'll just pay because they hesitated when the check came. And then they made it awkward by saying, wait, should I have paid? Should I have reached for the check? And I said, no, it's okay. I got it. They were literally wincing and I thought, you're stupid. I just took care of the check. When a guy hesitates, that's such an ick. I've never been more ick in my life. Anyway, we all make mistakes. You can judge me for the mistakes I made. I really don't mind. I've made my peace with it. Ended up marrying this person in a very short amount of time, and everyone is surprised. I'm already miserable the 3rd day after knowing this person, but I said to myself, I committed to this. I already said I was going to do it, so follow through. And that's who I am. I do not like to give up on people, especially when other people are involved. I feel horrible. I feel guilt. I should have just backed out and said this was a mistake the moment that they showed up to my door and just closed the door on them because they drove, like 5 hours or so just to see me. Should have just said no and kept my standards. Never lower your standards. Never. That's the moral of the story. And never make a decision when you're not in a good position. Come back to making big life decisions when you're in the best place so that you can think clearly for yourself. You can think long term. I might not like it right now. I might sacrifice a little bit, but things are good if I wait. Time is your friend. So I learned a lot. What ended up happening was legally we were tied. So I couldn't kick this person out of my apartment anymore. I kicked them out a couple times. The police kicked them out and I felt bad. My friends were saying, why are you letting this person back into your life? Let me just make a quick list of things that happened. So this person wouldn't let me sleep, literally would not let me sleep. They would have shined the light of their phone in my face and I would whack it out of their house. I would be lying like this, facing away from them. They would shine it in my face and I would whack it out of my face. I have never been so stressed out in my life. All these white hairs started coming on my head. I started gaining stress weight, which I've never had in my life. And I went through a really stressful time. This was the most stress and fear my body has ever been through in my adult life. And I thought I put myself in this situation and I couldn't get rid of them. And I thought I'm going to divorce this person, but I had to make a plan. They would follow me to work. They would shine lights in my face. They would never let me sleep. I would come home to my bedroom and have to lock myself in the door because if I called the police couldn't kick him out because he was legally tied to me. He was breaking all of my things from my father, from my grandmother, all of these personal items that could not be replaced. Things that my dad sent to me from Japan, things like this, and a lot of my items and things that Mr. Dixon gave to me and like engagement gifts, beautiful plates that I will never see again. I don't want to think about it, you guys. I remember buying new furniture. It cost me thousands. I worked so hard for it just because I wanted to make a beautiful home. And I filmed this beautiful haul. I filmed a lot of silver that I collected. It's all gone. I only have like a couple pieces, and they're not even the full pieces here that I have. One day when I have a house again, I'm gonna make it even nicer than it was before. This is just the smallest of things. His family was just as awful. We went to lunch and I had to orchestrate everything because his family could not initiate or take charge of anything. His mother would call me, justifying his horrible actions towards me, when he would hit me, when he would scream at me all day, destroy all my items. Just had to take it. The only way I could get through it was to get a divorce. And for some reason, I don't know what was happening where I just didn't want to file a divorce. And he was so desperate. Even now, I cannot remember anything positive about it because that's how many negative things happened that they just clouded anything that was positive. I said, the only things in our relationship that are positive are 0.05%. He's like, oh, what about the rest of the percent? That's what you're worried about? What's wrong with you? He would literally run away from the police and then try to bang on my door to let me. Ugh, it was so gross. He's so disgusting. There's just an endless list of things that are gross that I could complain about, but I don't want to relive it. And that's part of why I didn't want to post this, because it's so difficult. I've made this video 15 times. I would get upset. I would get emotional. I rewatched footage a few weeks ago now that I had to submit to court. The prosecutor needed the footage, so I had to go through everything. I could not believe that I went through all of that. I'm just gonna show you a little bit because YouTube might go crazy. This video might get taken down. An ounce of what I had to live through every day. Our neighbors said the police have never shown up ever until he moved in. The landlord knew me before he moved in, and I paid rent 2 weeks in advance because I wanted everything taken care of right away. Every time I got paid, I wanted to make sure that my bills, I never had to worry.
Here is another red flag. If someone drops everything to move in with you after one date, this means that they probably have bad credit. They probably have just bad financial and make bad big life decisions, which I also did. I had a bad mentality for making wise decisions at this time, especially because I was so vulnerable and I didn't want to be lonely anymore. Make decisions from a place of power, not out of need, because you pay in the long run when you're desperate, when you're in fear. Things are just negative in general. Don't let someone propose to you. Don't let someone say that they're in love with you after the first time they see you. Don't let someone say anything that extreme on a first date, after a first few couple dates, because you guys don't know each other yet.
I had to essentially think of an escape plan. I thought, I am gonna go to California. I told him, if you want to see me, get an apartment in Los Angeles. The reason I said this is because I know he's cheap. He would use all my money to pay bills. He never paid bills. He went through 5 months or so without paying any bills and lived at my place. I had to change the passwords because he wouldn't pay me. He wouldn't pay the bills on time. I thought, okay, pay me and then I'll pay the bills. There were so many weird things where he would live off me. He knew he legally could live off me, which is the worst, the most unsafe feeling I do not want anyone to feel, is someone using you. It was so heinous. It was so disgusting. This leech was living off me. They tried to manipulate me constantly. They went through 9 jobs in 3 weeks. They would get the job because he spoke Spanish, so everybody wanted someone who spoke Spanish. He would get the job, quit. Kentucky is an at-will state, so they don't have to tell you why they fire you. They can just think you're ugly and then fire you. Legally, they can't say that, obviously. So I appreciate at-will employment. This person would get fired 9 times in 3 weeks, go through 9 different jobs. I would ask them basic things. I would be on my phone in my office on my lunch break. My coworker could hear it, not even be on speaker, my phone. It would just be him screaming at me. I would say, hey, did you work out today? And he would say, no, I was thinking about counting my macros and this before. I was like, that's not how working out works. I know because I work out every day. It's not hard. I literally have a gym in one of my rooms that I set up. They're just making excuses for being incompetent. They would just scream on the phone when I would say, hi, how are you doing? They wouldn't say, hi, how are you doing on the phone? Where are you? Right now, where are your friends? Would text my friends, text and call people from my iPad. I had to change all my passwords. My family would contact me and say, what's up with all the Apple passwords? I'm getting weird notifications. Someone's trying to contact me. He would call my friends and coworkers whom he has never met before, read all my journals, by the way, and would hold things from 10 years ago against me. My friends would call me right away. They didn't answer or respond to his texts or calls. And they said, Gia, are you okay? I was wondering, I've been watching a lot of true crime, and the alibi
text is always to the friend. I want to make sure you're not in a ditch somewhere. Just want to make sure you're okay. Let me know if you can stay over at my place anytime. My boss was worried and they constantly kept up with him. So there was one time where he really, really beat me and he went to prison. Long story short, my boss kept sending me updates every hour, even late at night. She would always text me and say, is he getting released? And her husband, my other boss, talked to me and said, you got to get this marriage annulled. He was right. He was saying the most dangerous time for a DV attacker, so to speak, YouTube does not like the word that rhymes with a juice. So the most dangerous time is when you have freedom, when you can get away, because those victims always end up in the ground. It's essentially what he was saying. I'm trying to work around YouTube. This video is probably going to get taken down. I don't know. YouTube probably will take it down. He said, you know, you can have anyone, right? And that was a constant pattern that everyone was telling me. I just felt really beaten down at that point. His parents literally were morbidly obese, had a bunch of trash in their car. They were always attacking me, calling me and whining. Literally, I had 4 minutes of the mom whining. I'm like, you're not going to win this negotiation. Do you know who I am? I do not negotiate with terrorists. My coworker even heard me on my lunch break. He knew I didn't take any BS, but I could see that it was destroying my life and it was leaking into every aspect of my life. And it was very obvious that I was very beaten down. I wasn't the same. I just wanted to be single. This is the first time in my life that I've ever wanted time to myself and genuinely be single, where I was not forced to be single because someone broke up with me. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to stop having feelings. I wanted to stop crying. I wanted to just work myself into financial security again. What ended up happening, so back to the plan, I was hatching a plan on how to escape and then I could file a divorce from out of state. I went back to California, but I was telling this person, here's a plan. Save some money, live in my apartment in Kentucky, save X amount. Enough for this apartment. I gave a list of a bunch of Los Angeles luxury apartments, 1 bedrooms. I knew they couldn't afford it. I knew they would not move out to Los Angeles. I said, okay, meet me. I'm going to live with my family. You get a place, get an apartment. My family's not welcoming you because of the things you did to me, and they want you to redeem yourself. Go get an apartment, get a place on your own, and then I will move in with you. I wouldn't go to live with him, even if he got his own place. I would just leave him with a giant bill and never talk to him again and get a restraining order, and which is eventually what I did. I wanted them to just be stuck out there alone with no family because that's how I was in Kentucky. I didn't have any family, didn't have any friends. The police would constantly ask. 14 times I talked with the police, probably like 16 now, counting these aftermath times that I had to talk with the police still about all of the situation. I know the courthouse like the back of my hand. I know the 2 buildings, the streets. I know the building. I know the name of the people when you enter. I know the security there. Like, that's how well versed I am. I know the name of all the safe houses for the women. I know the fact that police will come faster to you on the phone if you tell them actively what's happening. You describe this person as 150 pounds, 6'3", blonde, wearing basketball shorts, looks like garbage, has a toenail in his face, smells like dog shit. This person is XYZ, and now they're following me into the other room. There were times where I called the police and I didn't have to say anything. I would just hold the phone up and you could hear him banging and screaming and destroying my things and screaming nonstop. I had my phone to the dispatch. I put it back to my ear. I would whisper, please help me. Or I would text 911 because you can text 911 in Kentucky. Say, please help. This is the address. Please come now. My name is this and this. I look like this. Please come here. And they will come faster if you tell them actively what's going on. I've never known this in my entire life. I would be a very different woman today. There were times where I thought, I want to do something bad to this person. So every time I thought that, I would call the police right away. Not to protect me from him, but to protect him from me. There were times where I defended myself. I reacted to what he was doing to me. I said, okay, I need to call the police now. He punched me in the face multiple times, punched me in the back multiple times. Well, first off, he didn't know how to punch. He would always square up like an old man from a cartoon. And I thought, okay, I can take him. Grew up with men in my household. Grew up with real men in my household, and we would like to play fight. My boyfriend now is a boxer, and I showed him some jujitsu moves. My friends here in jujitsu, like, it's a whole, I love fighting. I had to call the police to make sure that I didn't get hurt and that he didn't get hurt. I wish my family was there. If my dad was there, I would have been okay faster. Anyway, there were times where I prayed. Here I am. I'm in a good situation now. So my plan was to come back to LA and essentially ditch him. The thing is, he couldn't take over my lease because his credit was so bad. my name is on the lease and I don't live there anymore. I got a flight to LA, live there, and I never planned on coming back. The only time I was going to come back was to pick up my cat and pick up all of my property. That ended up not happening. I was getting a pod. So Pods Services leaves a container, then you can fill it up, and then they move it across the country for you. I came back and all my stuff was destroyed. Nothing that I really needed, just my cat. My cat was okay. Cat was with me. I put 5 polo shirts into my thing. Anyway, we're not even there yet. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what happened was I was thinking what my plan is going to be, get my cat, pack as many suitcases as I can, and get this person evicted from my place. But I was also planning to drive back to California with my car. In order to drive back, I had to get permission from my boyfriend so that I could talk to my ex-husband because the car was under his name. Car situation was really hairy because first off, it was under Mr. Dixon's name. He got it for me as a gift. He bought 2 cars, the farming truck and then my car. I would pay him every single month. We had the same account, so I would just transfer on our bank accounts. The problem was I was still paying for the car even though I was in California. That car was still back in Kentucky. There was no way I could drive it back because I was in a bad situation that I couldn't even afford gas, so I had to get my family to fly me out to LA. I paid them back for every single little thing. I'll be okay. Another problem that I found out right before coming back to Kentucky was I had to switch the loan into my name. I also had to get new insurance because that insurance that I had for the car was only meant for a certain range within the Midwest, and I had to get new California insurance. Really weird. Another cheap thing that happened was my landlord, he knew that his card had access, so he paid bills for 1 month. His card was in the account to pay the bills for the rent. The landlord kept trying to access the payment. Apparently, it was paid for 1 month, literally just 1 month. He could only handle the bills. I guess he just didn't have a job or it just was too cheap and didn't want to live there for very long because they would evict him anyway. And it's Kentucky. They evict faster than California. So I don't understand that. Especially since he didn't have any other place to stay. So it was really confusing. Why do you want to stay there? If they're going to evict you, why don't you just pay the bills? You can get a job easily. Just something up here is not right. Something's wrong with you. My landlord calls me. What happened after I had him evicted? He tried to revoke the payment and committed fraud. He called his bank to say, oh, there was this fake charge and all of the charges of the bills were taken away from the bank. So that 1 month that he paid, he lied and said, don't contact Gia. The reason why he said don't contact Gia was because he legally could go back to jail because he got in contact with me. Legally, he cannot get his friends or anybody to contact me, whomever it is. He legally cannot have any sort of communication with me. 500 feet, if I can see him within walking distance, he legally has to turn around, or I legally have to turn around, or else I can call the police on him and say, this person's here, and he would immediately be arrested. He said to the landlord, and it's this huge email, I think it was a message on the platform that they use. He said, don't contact her whatsoever. First thing he did was contact me and said, he's lying, saying that you guys weren't married. Can you please send me a marriage certificate, all the information, his ID and all this? I sent it and I showed them, here are all the paperwork, all the documents that you need. Here are his bank details. You can call this number in case they give you a hard time. Let them know what happened, and they can call me and I can let them know what happened. And we have all the paperwork that says everything against all the lies that he is stating. We had the paperwork that went against everything that he was saying. He was just trying to get his money back because he's cheap. There were so many cheap things like this where he was just a very calculated person, where he never did anything from his heart. It was always a transaction, like, what can you give me? It was really weird because my landlord would walk in the room when he would need to fix something and he would give him the ugliest, meanest face. He was this really huge, tough black cowboy who could command a room. He was very kind. He was a proper Southern gentleman. But when he was in the room with him, you could see he had his guard up. And he wasn't afraid of him. Obviously, no one was afraid of the skinny white boy. You could feel a bit of the energy, like the animosity, that everyone just thought he was disgusting. Everyone who was around him. And that's who he is. I fly to Kentucky. I fly back 2 or 3 months later. I find out that my car was taken. My ex-husband
took the car from my lot, and I had stuff in the car too. Like I had expensive gear in the car that was just sitting in the back. I had Louboutins. This idiot texts me from the place. He's not paying any of the bills, and I'm letting the bills default. I leave the water for my cat because I want my cat to drink, but I turn off the power. My cat will be fine in the dark. I turn off the air. I turn off the gas. I stop paying for the trash. He signs up for a few of the things by himself. I turn off the Wi-Fi. I think he even bought Wi-Fi himself. My cat will be fine because he's an animal, as long as he has water, as long as he has food. He refuses to pay bills constantly, sends me abusive texts, literally sends me texts 150 times in a row. My phone dies every day that I knew this person. This whole time, I could have had a restraining order, I could have been divorced a long time ago, or could have had it annulled, but I didn't. I don't know why. I just wanted to commit. The police told me something very important. Officer Rains, thank you very much. I remember all the officers, Officer Ridge, Officer Rains, Officer Serrano, Sergeant Kimball. I remember every single person's name who helped me. Thank you so much. Officer Rains said, you're a human being. You want to see the good in people. When you see a little bit of good, it gives you hope, so you want to see it some more. That has always stuck with me ever since. And I thought, if I don't actually see the good in people now, from now on, then it just doesn't exist. Action will tell you everything, and that you have to live in reality. While I'm away, I talk to a bunch of professionals. I talk to clinical psychologists, I talk to lawyers, I talk to divorce and marriage counselors, I talk to all of these people, different types of lawyers too, and different types of psychologists. And I talk to all my friends. I talk to finance people, I talk to business people, people whom I deeply respect, to get advice, life advice. Tell me where I'm making the mistake. Tell me what I need to fix so I can work on it right now, so that I can get out of this situation as smoothly as possible. Everybody walked me toward the light and listened to everything everyone said. Always ask advice and take advice, take criticism from people whom you deeply respect, from people whose place you want to be in. I only listen to my most successful friends who have wonderful lives, who are healthy, who have a really good home and family life, who have a strong community of people around them. All of these things add up and make a wonderful package of a person. They said, get out of the situation, here's what you do. They referred me to a bunch of lawyers, a bunch of legal people, all of these help. You have to be prepared with all of this community around you. One of my goals to establish that one day. I went back to Kentucky. I had nothing to pack. A lot of the things I just remembered in my head. I have traveled, I have lived on 4 different continents. It's easy for me to travel and get rid of things. All I am doing is attaching sentimental value. The thing is, I brought a few of my things from the Kentucky house where I originally moved to with Mr. Dixon 2 hours away, and I packed the things that I used regularly into this apartment, this 3-bedroom apartment that I had living by myself. I have downsized so many times. The only things that I should take are my journal, something for my father if it's not destroyed, which it was. And then a couple things like my wedding rings. I will always keep them. I'm just worried about my cat and the wedding rings at this point. I just packed 5 polo shirts. First thing I think is I need to call the police right when I land. So I alert the sheriff. I call them a week ahead, and I try to get as many ducks in a row as I can. I land, I come to my apartment. I don't see my car. I call the police, and apparently these wonderful policemen have helped me out before. They've been in the situation. They knew, they were aware of what has happened before, so they could truly, sincerely help me. There were times where I remember the time that he got arrested one time. I told the police, like, I was almost down at my knees, and I said, I'm free. The police, they broke down when they heard me say that. These police helped me again. They come to the apartment, they see me with my luggage. I just landed, had the worst Uber driver who's telling me about his stressful life stories, and I thought, I got a lot on my plate right now. I do not need more problems. Police were kind, and I said, I want to just get my keys, and if I can't kick this person out, is there a way that they can go to a hotel? They said, technically no. I said, I refuse to stay in the same place with this person. They can keep my apartment for tonight. The policeman knocks. He pretends not to be there. I had my key, and I just started unlocking the key, and all of a sudden, he opens a door with panic in his face. I let the policeman enter before me, and we kind of barge in. I'm looking for my keys, and there are holes everywhere. There are damages everywhere. There are blinds completely destroyed. I'm worried about my cat. I put him into a safe place. It's only the beginning. It looked like a heroin den. My beautiful apartment, Georgian-inspired furniture, all of like my sofa, my YouTube sofa, that pink tufted sofa that I got from Safavia, that was covered in just weird stains. It looked like a horror movie was filmed in there. Dining chairs were gone. There were holes in the walls, holes in the doors, holes in the cabinets, like someone punched them in. There were deep gashes, scratches in the floor. There were holes in the ceiling. Literally, I have a whole tour of it. To edit it makes me feel horrible.
Really weird. Another cheap thing that happened, he paid bills for 1 month. His card was in the account to pay the bills for the rent. The landlord kept trying to access the payment. Apparently, it was paid for 1 month, literally just 1 month. He could only handle the bills. I guess he just didn't have a job or it just was too cheap and didn't want to live there for very long because they would evict him anyway. And it's Kentucky. They evict faster than California. So I don't understand that. Especially since he didn't have any other place to stay. So it was really confusing. Why do you want to stay there? If they're going to evict you, why don't you just pay the bills? You can get a job easily. Just something up here is not right. Something's wrong with you. My landlord calls me. What happened after I had him evicted? He tried to revoke the payment and committed fraud. He called his bank to say, oh, there was this fake charge, and all of the charges of the bills were taken away from the bank. So that 1 month that he paid, he lied and said, don't contact Gia. The reason why he said don't contact Gia was because he legally could go back to jail because he got in contact with me. Legally, he cannot get his friends or anybody to contact me, whomever it is. He legally cannot have any sort of communication with me. 500 feet, if I can see him within walking distance, he legally has to turn around, or I legally have to turn around, or else I can call the police on him and say, this person's here, and he would immediately be arrested. He said to the landlord, and it's this huge email, I think it was a message on the platform that they use. He said, don't contact her whatsoever. First thing he did was contact me and said, he's lying, saying that you guys weren't married. Can you please send me a marriage certificate, all the information, his ID and all this? I sent it and I showed them, here are all the paperwork, all the documents that you need. Here are his bank details. You can call this number in case they give you a hard time. Let them know what happened, and they can call me and I can let them know what happened. And we have all the paperwork that says everything against all the lies that he is stating. He was just trying to get his money back because he's cheap. There were so many cheap things like this. He was just a very calculated person. He never did anything from his heart. It was always a transaction, like, what can you give me? There were so many weird things I also didn't mention in this video. I could make a whole list of red flags. I was going through this one album in my phone that is all the documents just for him. And there were some red flags. One, he lied about his name, which was crazy to me. The only thing is, I should have just gotten to know him. If I literally just took the time to get to know him, I would have dumped him immediately. There were so many guys who I thought were normal, healthy, and good people that I dated. I thought, this is getting boring because I want to go to New York, do a bunch of adventurous things, and a lot of the guys here in Kentucky don't want to do that. I don't know if they think it's expensive or they think it's just exotic for them, because a lot of them just never left Kentucky, which is very common. A lot of the people in the United States have never left the United States, and it's a big deal to venture out to a big city. I realized I am not normal. I am very lucky to have extremely wonderful, open-minded, curious parents. My parents were immigrants. My dad was an artist. That alone set me up for success, for being creative, for thinking outside the box. I'm from LA. Like, I'm from a place that every time I go to different parts of the United States, we always talk about how cool it is to be from LA. Not just from LA, I'm from the Hollywood Hills. Like, I am someone, not another girl in LA trying to be a singer, actress, model. I'm from here. I'm what we call in LA a unicorn. I already think in a very different way. He lied about his name. He said his name was John Herrera. He lied about his family, said his mom was a teacher, a professor at the Madrid University, because he said he was from Spain. His dad was a civil engineer. I asked him very basic questions and he couldn't answer them. My last name is Garcia, however you want to say it. I asked him, why is that when you speak Spanish, you have an American accent? Then I said, let's go meet your family in Spain, because I love traveling. You guys have known I have been to over 40 countries just by myself, on my own dime, not someone else paying for me. Like me, I just wanted to see the world and have adventures and see friends, make international friendships, and have godchildren who are from different countries that I can always visit. So I said, why don't we go to Spain? He said, no, let's just stay in America. And I thought, what? International boy who wants to stay in America? That makes zero sense. So that was the thing that I actually liked about him. That was the thing that made me see him differently, because a lot of the people that I was seeing in Kentucky that were immediately available to me, or in Indiana or in Cincinnati that were driving down to come see me, they were all very corn-fed, which is fine. I appreciate that. But this person wanted to be special, but he wasn't special. There was nothing he did to be special. All the people I've known who actually are special don't talk about it. They just live it. They just be it. Even if they're from a place that's not from LA, that's not still from a big city, they think differently. We just move differently. There were so many weird red flags. I should have trusted my gut when I heard him speak Spanish because I thought this is so weird. There's something off about everything he's saying. He eventually came out about it and I thought, why did you lie to me? I just brushed it off and forgave him because I don't like to hold grudges. Also felt like this is a really weird thing. And then I met his parents. His parents, even he was ashamed of his parents. When I saw his parents, I felt ashamed. I also brought him to see my friends and family in LA, at least the ones that were immediately close, because my family is 3 hours out. We only had a couple days here. This was a whole other ordeal. I posted a vlog about this, but it was actually the most miserable time I ever had. Don't believe what you see on social media. He made all of my loved ones feel exceptionally uncomfortable. We took him out to this really nice dinner, let him stay at this really nice house in the hills. He would walk in front of you, stand in front of you, have his back to you, and then listen to your conversation. My family was like, what is going on? They felt so uncomfortable. They were being polite. Because my family is we're not trash. They were being very gentle about it and said, something about him is different. That was enough for me to be sending alarms throughout my whole nervous system. We were at the restaurant. I went to the lavatory, came back. Later, my loved ones said he was asking if we were talking about him, which we absolutely were, because he was doing so many weird things. He was just acting weird and looking at us and just would always have this angry face, a really disgusting, miserable face. You know when you spend a lot of money and take someone on a really nice trip and then they're just miserable the whole time and you're like, what's wrong with you? I did nothing wrong. There was nothing I did. I think he just felt inadequate. That was what my feeling was. Not to even mention the airport. There were multiple times at the airport where I felt like I was dragging a really unhappy dog on a leash. I was like, come here, come here, come here, come here. I felt like I'm wearing the pants. I'm always taking the lead and I could never relax. I was always in my masculine energy. I always had to pay the bills. I always had to say, put on your socks, make sure you do this, make sure you get it in order. It was like having a child, but 1,000 times worse. Because when I have a child one day, when I have multiple children, I'm gonna love the heck out of that child and it's not gonna feel like a chore. It's gonna be like, sometimes I don't have enough sleep, but I love you to death and I will zip my mouth. I will not complain because you are a gift that God sent to me. This was like someone else's child that I absolutely hated, which is what I was doing because his parents didn't raise him right. He even complained incessantly about how he grew up and his parents still were treating him in a weird way, but he relied on them still. So he would talk trash on them, but he would call them anytime he needed something. So I'm like, wait, which is it? Are you good without them or do you need them? And it was a bit of both. So that was a whole other counseling session. Anyway, I booked my flight first because I could afford it. I had a job and I'm good at saving money. Booked my flight. He didn't book his flight until like it was getting really close and I said, you should book your flight. He booked his flight late somehow for some reason. I paid extra so that I could get a better seat and I could be closer to the door. I could have more space. There were multiple times of this because they were connecting legs. Bluegrass Airport is really small. You always have to connect through OR Charleston. So we go on this flight, first flight. I sat next to this Air Force gentleman who was an aircraft mechanic. I'm at the window, aircraft mechanic in the middle in the Air Force, then a woman who was so freaking funny on the aisle seat. She was so funny. We could not stop laughing. The three of us were having a ball of a time. I worked in aviation. I was also married to an Air Force vet, Mr. Dixon. He was in Royal Air Force. And then this gentleman and I had endless things to talk about. And I said, you worked on a Hercules, you worked on an A-10, you worked on this and this. And then the woman was making so many jokes. She was so funny. He chased me down after that flight, after that first flight, and said, oh yeah, by the way, he didn't want to pay extra to get a better seat. He's just cheap. I am the kind of person who will fly first class as long as I can afford it. Business class, whatever it may be. I got like economy plus, a little bit better, nothing crazy, but if I can afford it, I will try to get all the conveniences I can get. He didn't because he's a cheap, and I don't know what he was saving for because he never had money. But when he did have money, I don't know what he spent it on because he never had money. He never had anything to show for it because all of his stuff was garbage. It was the worst quality. He would just buy shirts from Amazon that were ripped, that would rip in like 2 days. When I bought him clothes they were like $10 H&M polo shirts, he clinged on to them for dear life, like he would die without them. And when I would just like take them away, take them off the hanger and throw them on the floor, he would lose his mind. The whole structure of how the world worked crumbled in his head. When I got off that flight, he chased me down and said, why are you flirting with him? I'm like, I was not flirting with anyone. I would fight him there and then, but I didn't want to deal with it on this flight because it was going to be a long flight. I don't know if he's going to sit next to me in this next one. I chose my seats. I usually choose my seats because I need the leg room. He said, "You were flirting with this guy." And I said, "No, I wasn't." He was absolutely charming. He was an aviation mechanic. And the woman next to us also at the very end, she was so funny. We could not stop laughing. If you could pay attention to the whole row, you would see that the entire row was laughing. It wasn't just me talking to one guy. I just happened to be in the window. He was in the middle. So you're looking at me the entire time when you should have been looking at the row. I was being very diplomatic at this time because I just did not want to stress. This was just the beginning of the flight. Then on the flight home, which is Dallas Airport, DFW, worst time because our flight gets delayed and delayed and delayed until 5 in the morning. We board the flight first, and then something happened that the aircraft crew didn't show up in time, so we had to deboard. We go on this flight. I am sitting next to this normal gentleman who is from Lexington but lives in LA, is flying back to Lexington, Kentucky. I'm sitting at the window. There's nobody in the middle. This gentleman sits down on the aisle seat. I am reading The Spectator, making notes, waiting for our flight to lift off. The gentleman is reading something too. We just start talking about reading. In that entire time, I could see him looking. I see his head literally above the seats trying to look for me constantly, like a weasel, like a meerkat, like a weasel. He looks like a weasel. I'm getting really annoyed because I just want to live my life. I just want to be free. I want to relax. I'm so relieved that I'm sitting far away from this loser. This gentleman in the same row, he and I start chatting and he's genuinely cool. He's genuinely someone who's normal. We're just talking about Lexington and California, outdoorsy things. And then he busts his way through, shoves his way through to sit in the middle. He says, "This is my wife. Hello, this is my wife. I'm her husband." And he introduces himself. We both could feel his desperate insecurity. We just look at each other like, ew. He's a gentleman, so he's from Kentucky. Kentucky people. I've never seen such impeccable politesse in my entire life until I moved to Kentucky. I felt like I was in nice parts of England. He was very kind about it. Then we deboard because the flight gets delayed. The gentleman later says, "Goodbye, I'm gonna go get a hotel and figure out my situation. It was nice talking to you." He gets in his face, he gets in front of my face again and says, "Oh, goodbye, have a good time." Tries to establish dominance, and I'm like, "You're literally not it." But I say bye and I'm normal. I remember everyone around us just like kind of giving us looks and feeling the energy of his insecurity. He would constantly do things like that where he would insert himself where he's not wanted, interject, and then ruin the flow and make everybody uncomfortable. It is really desperate and unattractive. He would always lie to my face and keep lying until it was too late, and then admit that he lied this entire time until things got way worse. I asked him very basic questions and he couldn't answer them, and then he would lie on top of that. I would ask him about his exes. He was married before, so I found this out when we were getting married and he never told me this. When I'm dating, I'm very straight up. I say, "I'm been married before, I will not tolerate this, I'm this and this, I plan on doing this with my life." We don't waste each other's time. He wasted so much of my time. That is the ultimate disrespect in my opinion. To add to that, he never told me what happened with his exes. He was never clear. He was the problem. In my relationships, I know that I was the problem. I was looking for something else. I'm happy to admit that, especially in the relationship. I will tell you, I messed up here. Here's how I'm gonna fix myself, or we can't fix this anymore. Especially if you're marrying someone, you shouldn't hide anything. I'm not married to Adam. We live together. There's no way I can hide anything, and I don't plan on ever hiding anything from him. Put two and two together. Oh, your ex left you because you're crazy. You're unreasonable. You're not healthy, messed up human being. Things don't work. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid things won't work out. It's good that things don't work out. It was really weird because my landlord would walk in the room when he would need to fix something, and he would give him the ugliest, meanest face. He was this really huge, tough black cowboy who could command a room. He was very kind. He was a proper Southern gentleman. But when he was in the room with him, you could see he had his guard up. And he wasn't afraid of him. Obviously, no one was afraid of the skinny white boy. You could feel a bit of the energy, like the animosity, that everyone just thought he was disgusting. Everyone who was around him. And that's who he is. I had to pay for damages. My landlord was very, very gracious to me. They said, "You're a really good person and you always pay your bills on time." I remember that neighborhood. I loved it so much because I felt so safe. All my neighbors were Congolese. I spoke with them in French. I would always say hi to everyone, play with all the kids. When he moved in there, I tried to avoid everyone because I was so embarrassed about all the screaming that he would do. There would be police that would show up at 7 in the morning. He would scream and I would say, "There are babies upstairs." Because I remember I would hear the mom get frustrated and crying that she can't control her kids. I felt so bad for that mom upstairs and the kids who had to hear screaming. And then the police were there. I said, in front of the police, through my teeth, like an Asian mom, I said,
don't scream, there are children upstairs. Like, I was about to whack him with my slippers or something. He didn't get it, he kept screaming, and the police were not having it, so they taught him a lesson. Anyway, I looked for my keys and I said, where are my car keys? All I want is my car keys. I want to get my car and get out of here. I want to go to a motel, drive myself, put my luggage in, take out some things like some underwear, sweaters. He is looking for the keys, which is the psychopathic part, which is the diagnosis part, which is the mental health situation that was scary to me. Because in those true crime stories where the mother takes the lives of her children and she helps the police look, that's what baffles me. That sickened me. He would say, I'm looking for the keys, and I literally have on video him looking for the keys. He would call me nonstop day and night when I was in Los Angeles, and I wouldn't answer, to the point that I didn't block him because I still wanted a record of showing him texting and calling. There was no need for me to talk with him, especially if I didn't respond to him right away. If I lived in Kentucky, if I didn't text him right away, especially if I was working or in the bathroom for 2 seconds, literally I could not go to the bathroom in the morning without him screaming and causing a problem. He said, who are you texting? And I said, my phone is in the other room. I'm trying to use the bathroom. It was that bad, that level of insecurity. This person would text me nonstop if I didn't contact them right away after they initiated contact. That's the level of scary this person is. They texted me once when I was in LA, a month or so ahead of this, before I returned to Kentucky to get my things and evict this person. They text me once and say, call me back, they didn't say it's an emergency, just call me back, I need to talk to you about something like that. Just like really downplayed it. I found out that Mr. Dixon had the car towed out of there because he get his money back and stop paying the loan so that he didn't have to worry about it because he had a baby on the way. He already knew that happened, but he was still looking for the keys. They took the keys. The car was gone a month ago, and you're looking for the keys for what? What exactly? Like, that's the level of sick he was in the head. You'll see in the footage, he's looking frantically for the keys, and I'm looking through my apartment, I put Kashmir away into the room, and he had his own room, into his little safe spot. His dish was never cleaned. His washer was disgusting dirty. The cops were pissed when they saw that he was mistreating my cat, my innocent cat. The cops were keeping calm after they're trying to be professional, but I could see they were seething through what they just saw. They said, don't worry, I've seen worse. And I said, that doesn't make me feel good because that's my apartment. I worked really hard for that. I spent like $15,000 making it nice, making it livable and fabulous. The silver, on the furniture, on designing the place. Then I find out it's all destroyed when I get back. Literally, there's a table in the closet completely destroyed, thousands of dollars. I collect what I can. I find out that the car, Mr. Dixon had it taken, towed away. That's fine with me. I just wish I knew. But I'm glad I got to say hi to my cat. I went to the courthouse. The police took me there. Went to get a protective order. Went to get a sheriff to kick him out of my apartment. In the morning, I had 2 hours of sleep. I went to sleep at 5 or 6 a.m. Got a call at 7 or 8. I went to the courthouse to file the divorce. They said, you live in California now, you have to file in California. That was a whole other story. That took 10 months to do. Anyway, it's filed now. I'm happy. I'm glad that I can get my apartment back. I try to fix as much stuff as I can. I try to pack as much stuff as I can. I take my cat home. I see my sweetheart. He picks me up from the airport. I am the happiest girl alive. This situation was mostly over. It was pretty much over at this point, but now I'm legally gonna be free very soon. In 30 days, I will know for sure. I feel like a new person. It took me so long to open up emotionally. I started working out again, making friends, saying hello to what I used to know, being glamorous in Los Angeles, redecorating a place, and we might end up moving to a nicer place in July. We're still figuring out some things. Life is good. I can't complain. If we do stay here for another few months, I'm happy to redecorate it some more. I will release home decor vlogs, but that's what happened in Kentucky. The reason it took me so long to film this, there are so many reasons. It's so painful to relive. I hate crying on camera. I think it's so silly to do that. I left my old life. This is definitely a completely different me. The past 6 months, I was wondering what it's like to not just get by. I was mentally struggling every day just to be a healthy person again, to have stability. And February was the start of that. March, I became a new woman. April, I started thriving again. Now May, I'm a completely new person. Don't let anybody get you down. My throat is completely done from yapping so much. I am so sorry, you guys. I still smoke cigars, dress elegantly in my personal opinion anyway. I'm rebuilding my wardrobe now that I have to start from scratch. I can love again, especially when someone so wonderful inspires love from you and shows you everything you deserve and more. I'm gonna be just fine, you guys.
The truth is, my life is beautiful. I have a comfortable home and one of the most gorgeous places on earth. I wear fabulous clothes and eat delicious food every day. My friends and family constantly want to get together. Business is booming, even though I'm working 2 jobs on the side. And I can just be myself around the love of my life. My worst day is better than other people's best day. If they say you can't have it all, look around. You probably already do. It just looks a little different for everyone. Baruch Hashem.